Hello, my friends. How are you? I'm very disappointed in you, and I'm here to berate you today. Just kidding. But I am very disappointed in some truckers in our industry, and today we're going to talk about why I'm so damn disappointed. So, yeah, we got a lot to unpack here today. As you guys know, I have made a series of videos lately where I've just been kind of down on the whole trucking industry, the industry as a whole. I think maybe some people might be missing my point here. I'm not having a hard time. As a matter of fact, I'm having a pretty good time. Some people have asked me about Trekker and how everything works here. I'm considering doing a video on how to run loads at Trekker. Is anyone interested in that? Does anybody want to see that video? Because they have a certain way where you can kind of influence your money over here and, help you make more if you figure out what the fuck you're doing. So if anyone's actually interested in that video, let me know. I don't know how many people are interested in going to work for Trekker. But the point of all that is I'm not having a hard time here. But I am a 10-year veteran of trucking. And with that said, I have seen a lot of things over the last few years that have gone horribly wrong for all the truckers out there. Wouldn't that be crazy of me if I just made a channel where I just considered myself all the time? I mean, there are times where the videos are solely 100% completely about me, but when I talk about the trucking industry, I don't want it to be better for me. I've been here 10 years. I'll die here within the next 10 most likely. But I'd like for other people to not come into trucking and feel like they wasted their life or wasted their time because it was an industry that took care of the people that worked in it. Am I insane? Apparently, I fucking must be. So we're going to talk about that. Like I said, I've been pretty down on the industry as a whole. And then I'm going to explain why I'm absolutely disappointed in some truck drivers. Before we get into all that, I do have a couple people to thank for the super thanks on the last video. So let's go ahead and do that. First, we've got Barry McCockiner. You sly devil. I see what you did there. I see what you did in there. So Barry McCockiner with $2. That's a funny name. Good job. I saw the name change from your last name, and that's a good move. That's a funny fucking name. It really is. And we've got Private Pile with $10 on the last video. Also, thank you so much, Private Pile, for your continued support to the channel. And with all that said, I want to say thank you to everyone helping my humble little channel grow here on YouTube. All the likes, all the subscriptions, all the views, and most of the comments. Some of the comments are fucking stupid, and today that's why we're going to talk about why I'm disappointed in some truck drivers, because some of the comments are fucking stupid. But hey, it helps me come up with content, so keep the stupidity coming, I guess. With all that said, we are just a little over 200 subscribers till we hit that 10,000 subscriber milestone. So if you're watching for the first time or you forgot to hit the damn button, just push the fucking button for me so I can stop begging for subscribers, please. It's getting old. It's getting real old. So hopefully we break through that milestone soon and I can shut the fuck up. So anyways, yeah, I'm very disappointed with some truck drivers out there. Just a quick little recap of what I said at the beginning of the video. As we know, I've made some videos where I am disappointed with the current state of trucking. What is the current state of trucking? Dog shit. It's a whole fucking clusterfuck, and it really, really shouldn't be. As you know, during COVID, we had a boom in our freight rates out here. A lot of truck drivers went home. They were worried about COVID, rightfully so. If you're worried about it, sure, go home. And then a lot of people were panic buying, and there was a huge demand for freight to be moved around the country with less drivers initially at the beginning of COVID, and it caused a lot of people to make a lot of fucking money in a relatively short amount of time. Now, let me clear up something on that first. I don't think that that's how it should always be. I understand that these things move in cycles. I'm not a spoiled brat that thinks I deserve $10,000 a week just for fucking showing up. I understood that cycle was going to end, but I didn't quite realize the crash that was coming from it. I guess it's a once in a lifetime thing. Hopefully we never see something like that again, because that was fucking crazy. So I want to be clear. I believe in working for my money. I believe in, figuring out how shit works so you can more efficiently or effectively, I tried to mash up both of those words at one time, make your money, okay? You guys don't think I work? Of course I work. I believe in working. I am out here every goddamn day working. Anyways, after that initial boom, well, part of the fault is mine. Me and a lot of other YouTubers and TikTokers and whatever got on the internet and decided to run our big fucking mouths about how much money we were making in trucking. Now, were we the cause of what was to come next? Probably not, but we weren't fucking helping. All of a sudden, everybody in the world wanted to be a truck driver, right? And that's fine. It's this perfect storm of bullshit going on that caused everybody, a lot of people lost their jobs, and they were like, what the fuck is a recession-proof job? They landed on trucking, which I wouldn't say it's recession-proof. I definitely wouldn't say that, but it is pretty resistant to a bad economy. You can still make some money doing this in almost any situation, right? But it caused a lot of people to fucking do that. It caused to get CDLs and get into trucking. It caused a lot of people that had a little too much money on their hands to jump into trucking as owner-operators or fleet owners or things like that, which eventually led to way too many fucking people driving trucks when everything calmed down, causing our rates to go through the fucking floor, and people were fucked, right? People were scrambling to figure out how to make money after that, and a lot of people lost their businesses. I wouldn't say necessarily I lost my business. I still drive a truck, but because I was dealing with a truck that kept breaking down on me quite often, and the high cost of getting parts for the truck, plus the long wait sometimes for getting parts for the truck, eventually that truck broke my ass. So did I go out of business? In a sense, yeah. I mean, I still had to go drive a truck for someone else. And I'm not blaming anyone for that. It happened. Some of it is due to my own fucking stupidity. I cannot blame the whole world for my problems. I was very, very new to the owner-operator side, and it was, looking back in hindsight, a really, really stupid time for me to jump in. I should have just held on to my money for maybe a time like now, where you can get parts readily available for the most part. Truck prices aren't too high. Somebody in the comments told me that they're down quite a bit. I believe them. I haven't went to look, if I'm being honest with you, but I guess I would probably believe that. And I'd much rather have all that money now to make the decision, do I want to get into being an owner-operator now? Because now would be a better time. Even though I'm not making like $10,000 a week, it's much more stable, if that makes sense. We're not on quite the roller coaster that we fucking used to be. All that to say, it's not coming back. Like I said earlier, I don't expect it to get to the rates that it was during COVID. I don't expect that. But we hit these crazy lows in the freight rates, and it's just kind of staying there. Hopefully, coming up through the holidays, we start to see a rate increase through the end of the year. Maybe we'll all make a little bit more money. We'll just have to kind of see how that plays out, right? But none of this is really the fucking point. It kind of is the point, but kind of not. The industry has gone straight to hell, right? It's really fucking bad. Now, a lot of times people will come to me when I make these videos, because you know how people say stupid shit on the internet, right? And they go, Josh, you're the problem. Could you imagine, and I know I've made this point before, but could you imagine that you're that ignorant that you look at a million-mile truck driver that has moved freight around this country for the last 10 years without even killing anyone? Yeah, the insurance companies frown on us killing people, and that's a real fucking bummer now, isn't it? And then you look at that guy, though. An accomplished driver. Look, I'm not saying I did anything special. I just hung around in the fucking trucking industry and pushed the go pedal until I reached 1,000,000 miles. That's it. That's all I did. But could you imagine looking at that guy and going, he's the problem with trucking? Talk about not understanding what fucking trucking is, right? Of course, I'm not the problem with trucking. I'm the solution. One of the other millions of solutions out here that are moving freight for a living, all right? That's not the problem. If you think that a guy moving freight in trucking across the country without killing people is detrimental to the future of the trucking industry, just say you don't understand trucking. Let's start the conversation from an honest point of view, right? Let's do that. And then we can go from there. Then we can go from there, because you're really not fucking understanding how trucking works, all right? You know who will not understand what I just said? those dumb fucks that say stupid shit like that. They'll be like, what is he even trying to say right now? Is this guy even speaking English? Because they're dumb. And if you guys haven't picked up on this yet, I'm kind of tired of dumb motherfuckers, right? I'm just really kind of sick of it. Anyways, I just wish that maybe before these guys started talking, right? Maybe they would do me a favor and start off their comments with, hey, Josh, I'm a dumb son of a bitch, and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but now I'm going to blame you for the downfall of the trucking industry. And here's what actually happened. Here's what's actually going on in this industry that is really fucking problematic. Oh, God, there's a whole fucking list. I should have wrote them down. Double brokering, that's a real fucking problem. A guy goes and gets a load off the load board only to place it back on the load board at a lower rate, sells it off to another guy who actually goes and delivers the load. Now this extra middleman that exists for no fucking reason just cashed in $300-400 for doing absolutely nothing besides reposting a load to a load board. Yeah, that sounds like that guy's more of a problem than I am, doesn't it? Yeah, sure does. How about this? Here's a problem in the trucking industry. Here's one that's real fucked up. You got trucking companies, for one, that don't think they have to play by the same rules, right? Oh, you're running out of hours? Let us just clean up that ELD and you can keep driving. Does this cause rates to go down? Yep, sure does. Artificially inflates capacity because you got one driver doing the job of two drivers because he never has to stop driving because they can just clear off his logbooks. And then when those guys get in a fucking accident, those companies wreck too many trucks. They wreck too many trucks, right? And the insurance company's real grumpy with them. They don't like that. And you know, their safety scores aren't good enough anymore. You know what they do? They just start a whole new trucking company. Same players, you know, same people working there, same people own it. They just get them some new DOT and MC number, slap that on the side of a truck, and on with their business they go, like nothing ever fucking happened, because nobody will broker any freight to them anymore because they keep wrecking. Well, we didn't keep wrecking because we're a whole new company now. What are you talking about? A separate company? None of that. No, nobody's tracking this. Nobody's paying any attention to this. Guys just fuck shit up and start a whole new trucking company. Does that sound like that guy's more problematic than I am in trucking? I think so. I think so. What else is wrong with trucking? Let me fucking try to think of some shit. We got a lot of dumb fuck drivers out here. We do. I mean, I just don't know what to say anymore. There's a lot of dumb bastards that are driving trucks. And that's pretty terrible now, isn't it? I got caught up between two earlier. One guy that was in the right lane slamming on his brakes with no one in front of him for some fucking reason. I have no idea. And then another guy that was to my left of me speeding through a construction zone. And then when we got out of the construction zone and I got myself back up to highway speeds, he decided to pace me. Was I being a dick in that situation? Because now I'm caught between these two jackasses. Was I being a dick because now I'm matching his speed when he was trying to pass me? I'd argue that I wasn't, because he was the one speeding through the construction zone to begin with. You know, I had to get out of that situation, and I probably could have just slowed down and let them all kind of go do their thing. But I've got my pride also, and I will not be outdone by these shitheads. I will out jackass them on the road any day of the fucking week. Could those guys be the problem in trucking? They sure could. They sure could. With all that said, now I want to talk to you about why I'm so damn disappointed in some of the truck drivers that we have out on these roads. I feel like I've made some good points. Here's the points that I've made. For one, if you get into trucking, you're gonna confine yourself to this space most of the time. You're gonna live in this truck. That's the biggest thing that I'm dealing with now. I gotta look back on the last 10 years and say, I lost all that time and I'm never getting it back. It's never coming back. It's gone. It's over with. And that's a real struggle for me in my life now. As my kids are getting older, I'm starting to realize I missed their entire childhood. And that's a thing that bothers me, because the industry kind of just keeps you running. You don't really have time to take time off very often, unless you don't have a whole lot of bills at home. There's a lot of factors where maybe I'm wrong about that, but in most cases, most truck drivers are going to run fucking constantly, nonstop, to go make their fucking money, right? And that bothers me, and I don't think I'm wrong to be bothered by that. I forgot what the fuck I was saying. Holy shit. anyways, that's one of the points I was making about why I'm a little bit frustrated with trucking. And that's my own personal demons to fight with now, isn't it? But one thing I advocate for, if you will, not that I'm anybody, I'm just this guy trucks on YouTube. It's not saying a whole lot now, is it? One thing I advocate for is for truckers to get paid for all the work they do, right? We shouldn't be caught in this fucking treadmill where, you know, some load planner, some broker, and some dispatcher all impacted your week to the point that maybe you had to cancel home time next week, or you know, maybe you had to move some things around so that you could afford to pay your bills. Truck drivers, I think the pay per mile thing needs to go away. And I'm talking about company truck drivers. I'm not even a company driver. I'm out here fighting for you guys. Can you believe it? It's not about me. It's not about me. I think that company drivers should be paid for every fucking thing that they do. And their finances should not be affected by somebody else doing their job or not doing their job. You should just make your money, right? And they got to figure out a system, because it's easy to say, well, then the truck driver can just be lazy and not deliver the loads, well, and not run the miles he's supposed to do. Well, companies need to have policies where they have certain requirements that, you know, if you're not doing your job, you get the fuck fired. That's how this shit works. That's how it works in every other goddamn industry. Why can't it work in trucking? And I think that's actually good. That's good for the industry. Let's weed out the people that don't actually want to do the work and don't give a fuck to do it the right way, and pay the truckers that want to be out here what they're fucking worth. These are the crazy things I say on the internet, my friends. I say pay the drivers what they're worth. And you would not believe the amount of truck drivers that get their panties in a bunch. And the biggest, most frustrating fucking thing, yeah, now I'm a little fired up. The most frustrating fucking thing I've ever seen in trucking is truckers are their biggest fucking enemies. Truckers will fight against higher wages for truckers just so they can look at that other trucker and say, that poor bastard over there, he ain't making no fucking money. Fuck him. You're not either, stupid. You're not either. You fought against your own paycheck just so you could get one up on another trucker. Brotherhood, right? The brotherhood of trucking that we're always fucking rambling about, aren't we? Fuck, man. But that's what gets people fired up with me. And they say, you can't just tell us that we should make money. Josh, what's wrong with you? And yes, I'm public fucking enemy number one when it comes to fucking saying that truck drivers should make their fucking money, right? Every time I say that truck drivers deserve to get paid, I have never had an accountant come and tell me that that's not right. I've never had a gynecologist come and tell me that's not right. I've never had a 7-Eleven employee come and tell me that's right. I have always only had truckers show up and tell me that that's not right. And it's no fucking wonder we can't get anything done. We're too goddamn stupid to fucking help ourselves, to say we demand to be taken care of. And can we just cut the bullshit on the comments? People come to my comments and say, you know, Josh, if every truck driver just shut down, we could shut down the economy, you know? And I'm not in favor of shutting down the economy, but let's cut the bullshit. We're not going to shut down. Let's stop with the threats of we're going to strike until we get what we want, because as long as you can get one over on the trucker next to you and feel better about yourself, you're fucking content. That's it. You're happy. You're fucking happy with that. Let's just knock the bullshit off. Let's just stop. Can we just stop with all that? Unless we're actually going to fucking organize, unless we're going to actually agree on what the fucking problems are out here, and it ain't people's fucking flip-flops, I'll tell you that. That's not the problem in the trucking industry. People's footwear is about as much of the problem in the fucking trucking industry as my million-mile driving ass getting loads delivered is the problem in the fucking industry. I can't believe we talk about men's shoes as if that's the fucking problem out here. Holy shit. That's not the fucking problem. And it bothers me. Listen, people always come to me and tell me, you just need to shut up and do your job. Let me tell you something, son. Let me tell you something, all right? My mom raised 5 kids and got a college education. Did pretty well for herself, right? Does that sound like a person that just shut the fuck up and did what they were told? Doesn't sound like it to me, right? My dad went on to start multiple different businesses. He had a construction business. Eventually, that had moved him into owning, limousines, the long cars. This was, late 90s, early 2000s. It's been a while. And he ran a pretty successful business there. All the while, there were people on his ass all the time telling him to just get a fucking job and stop chasing after his goals and his hopes and his dreams. And he kept doing it anyways. Does that sound like somebody that just sat down and shut the fuck up? And I'm not even going to go into my grandparents because I don't know. That's some shit. They did some shit, all right? They did some shit. And the point of all that is I come from a long line of people that didn't just sit down and shut the fuck up and just take it. You think I'm going to break that cycle? I owe it to them. I owe that to my grandparents and my great-grandparents to stand up for what the fuck I think is right too. And on that note, guys, your grandparents, your great-grandparents would be rolling over in their fucking graves right now to see you just line up and be happy to see somebody sign your paycheck and say that's good enough for you. These are people that fought for their fucking rights, for workers' rights. They're going, are you out of your fucking mind? What are you doing? You're giving the power back to the companies? We got fucking murdered out there. We were getting murdered on the front lines of these labor wars because we wanted to be treated fairly, and we wanted your stupid ass to be treated fairly too. And you're just lining up to suck the tit of the first person that'll sign a paycheck for you? My God, they would be fucking furious. I cannot believe, I can't stand watching people just say this is good enough for me. And that's fine. If that's the way you live your life, that's fine. I'm not judging that. If it's just good enough for you, and maybe you don't want the stress of trying to figure out how you can do better. And I think that's a perfectly acceptable way to live. Where it becomes problematic is when you start telling other people they have to live the way you do. They have to just accept that that's just the way it is and shut the fuck up and never say a goddamn thing about it. This industry needs to be fixed. That's all there is to it. The company drivers out there that I'm not one of needs to be taken care of so that it makes sense for them to give their life to this fucking truck. Is that too much to ask? Why am I arguing with truckers about truckers being taken care of? Holy shit. And what I was saying about your grandparents would be rolling over in their graves, motherfucker, if we went to their graves right now, attached jumper cables to their fucking casket, we could power this country for 100 years with how much they're spinning in their fucking graves. That everybody just eager to line up and give the power back to the companies because we're just dumb little workers and we do what the fuck we're told. Does anybody finally get what I'm so upset about? What I'm so fucking angry about? It has nothing to do with me. I'm doing fine. It has a little bit to do with me. I have to contend with the fact that I've spent 20 years locked in a fucking box. I have to contend with the fact that I'll probably spend another, did I say 20 years? I meant 10. I don't know what I said. I'm going to spend another 10 here, and that's only if I'm fucking lucky. That's only if I'm fucking lucky that I'll be out in 10 years. What I don't want is I don't want that for the next generation. Would you encourage your kids to be truckers? Would you? Over-the-road truckers. I'm not talking about you got a family business already and you're out there, you got certain contracts, whatever you have set up. Would you encourage your child to go out and be a truck driver? I bet most of you say no to that. I wouldn't. I got all daughters. There's no way I'm sending them to a fucking truck stop, There's no fucking way. But with that fucking said, does anyone see why that's a problem? If we can't look at the next generation and say this is a good career choice, this is a good thing for you, and it's something that we need, where do we fill in the gaps on that, right? Do we continue to let companies take advantage of us, let brokers take advantage of us, let shippers and receivers take advantage of us, or do we draw a fucking line in the sand and say we're not going to take the shit anymore? I'm not organizing a fucking strike here. I'm not. But what I'm saying is it's disheartening to watch truckers come to me and tell me that they don't deserve better. They don't deserve better. We have to fill in that gap somewhere for the next generation, right? Automation isn't happening, and I'm not trying to be that fucking hillbilly that denies that technology advances. It's just the observations that I've made. I don't think automation is happening. You're seeing new truck stops pop up all over the place. These are things that are purchased and built by very wealthy people. These very wealthy people know more about what's happening than we do. If they were convinced that automation was coming, you wouldn't see all these new truck stops popping up, and they're fucking everywhere. I'm at one right now. Nobody would be buying into truck stops right now if automation was a thing that was happening, and that's just one of the observations. That's not like the whole case that automation isn't happening. So now we can't look our children in the eye and tell them that this is a good decision, this is a good career choice for you. Then when our asses have to retire, what's the solution? What's the fucking solution? We just all go hungry? All the shit we need delivered to our house? Not everything is going to be digital and downloadable. Not everything. You can't do everything that way. So what do we do? What's the fucking solution? And as a matter of fact, now that I said that out loud, that's probably more likely than automation in trucking. That you can just download a product to your house is probably way more likely. They just cut out trucking altogether. Now, obviously that technology doesn't exist, but if I was at home and I could download a Big Mac to my house, well, I'd be a fat son bitch for once. Maybe not Big Macs. I'm more of the quarter pounder. You know, I think they're a little more tasty. You get the fucking point, though. You get the point. I'll end on this note. Is it really that crazy for a trucker to not be completely miserable in life? Because I'm not. I get angry, but I say a lot of funny shit too. A lot of times I'm in a good mood also. But like, is it that crazy for me to spend years in an industry and spending time learning as much as I can? I didn't try that hard, I'll be honest with you. But learning what I can about the industry. And then looking back at it and saying, hey, yeah, I acknowledge that this did provide for my family. I was able to keep my family in a house this whole time. But also there's some shit you could be doing fucking better. Is it really that crazy to think like that? I don't really think it is. I don't really think it is. And I don't think this job appeals to young people at all. And that may not be a problem right now, but it's going to be a problem in the next 10 years. How do we convince somebody to do this job when it turns out at the end of the day, it's a huge fucking waste of time? How do we do that? How do we fill in that gap? And it's not by fucking accepting the status quo right now and just saying this is just good enough for me, so it better be good enough for everybody else. It can be better. Am I crazy for saying that? Some of y'all are starting to make me feel like I'm crazy for saying that. Anyways, I'm very hungry right now, and I'm completely out of energy after this little temper tantrum. So, bye now.